So I'm going to go ahead and share screen. Welcome. By the way, we're so glad you're all here and that we get to talk about a topic, the secrets to stress relief. I liked that just because it's not really a secret, but at the same time, it seems like it's a tool in particular, one tool that is not often tapped on. And but it will help us answer this question uh, in a way where we can be able to feel better more often. So, are you ready to feel good more often? And this is physically, emotionally, just us as a whole. So, that tool is really actually going to be through the use of oils. And we're going to go into the science behind emotions and essential oils and see how compatible they are. We're going to find out a little bit more about habits and again, more tools for healthy body chemistry, and then practical steps we can take now in our own emotional wellness. So let's go ahead and start off with again, we really do see ourselves as a whole. We're not just like, okay, body's over there. I can feel physical symptoms, but it doesn't affect me emotionally, right? It always does. And then vice versa, our emotions or our mind, or if we're feeling weighed down in our spirit, that affects our body. We can feel pain, we can just feel heavy. We are fully interconnected. And so we're going to go over more how our cells are interconnected and our emotions in particular. So, did you know that our emotions are actually molecules? They're not just a feeling that we think in our brains. It's something that is an actual molecule that our different cell receptors have. They collect these neuropeptides that those emotions are carrying and coming to those receptors. So this is an image of the cell, and each cell has many different types of receptors, and they're receiving information for like our blood glucose, our neurotransmitters, but then also these emotions. And what they do is they actually come into the cell, and now they begin to impact our cellular function and behavior. So when we will actually go over the three brains here now, and it'll make even more sense, like why we can sometimes hear some news and then we feel it suddenly in our gut. And we're like, oh no, that doesn't feel great. So this goes into more the three brains. So neuroscientists are finding that there are different neurotransmitters that are within these three regions of our body, these three organs in particular. We know our mind is a big place for our emotions and our emotional processing. So that is directing 90% of our behavior. However, our heart, a lot of us know we can be led by our hearts, these sorts of things. It's more of our intuition. And that's where we have different neural pathways that are not just running from the brain to the heart, but actually more of them are from the heart to the brain. So the heart is also sending feedback to the brain, and we're following where the heart can lead us at times. The last one is our gut. This is where we were talking about we can have those gut reactions if we start to fall in love, and then we get those butterflies in our stomach too. Those are different ways that our body is processing our emotions. And this is a really wonderful fact that 90% of our serotonin is produced actually in our gut. So it's again, no wonder that these three are really interconnected. There's another neuroscientist. She's a psychoneural immunologist as well. Her name is Dr. Candace Pert. She has a book called The Molecules of Emotion. Really wonderful read if that's something that you're interested in learning a little bit more about too. All right, so when these are all connected, we actually begin to feel good. And again, that's going back to our original question. If we have, okay, I'm feeling clear, physically, emotionally, in my mind, my heart's feeling open, unrestricted, and my gut, like I'm eating well, I don't have inflammation going on. That creates those sensations of wellness. That's from that physical side as well as the emotional side too. So we're going to go through an example here of how our emotions and our body all interacts in those three different brains. So let's say we have some sort of life experience. I don't know what she hears on the phone, but something's not great, right? And then baby's crying, dog is maybe made a mess, I don't know. Whatever is happening for this person, we can relate to. We get messes in our lives, we get unexpected news. All of these things can be uncomfortable for us, and we have to try to process it. And so first, these are the kind of the thoughts of each of the regions trying to process, trying to assimilate what just happened in the life experience and how to proceed. So the brain is like, okay, we're in charge of behavior here. I have to figure this out. But then the heart is like, it's so overwhelming. I've got all these things happening at me at once. And then the stomach's just like, okay, we're feeling I'm stuck. I don't know where to go. It's too confusing. And therefore, we start to have physical reactions. And therefore, so our head, we might start getting that tension where we're feeling, oh, I just that confusion is now paired with the headache. Or our heart might just start feeling, oh, not only am I feeling restricted in my ability uh, to to proceed, it's just now getting tight in our chest and we're feeling less able to breathe very clearly. And then the stomach, right? It's now also responding, and we might have some digestive issues starting to rise. These disconnections between these three brains are actually what create dis-ease. Dis-ease, disease, right? This is where we start to see those physical manifestations coming from emotional origins. So, from there, whenever we have a physical experience and emotional belief or emotional thoughts that are coming together, we start to plant a belief. A new belief is either planted or reinforced. So that belief in this example might be something like, man, all the, like if I'm stuck, I can't go forward, I'm feeling confused, I'm just not good enough to really proceed. I can't, I don't know how to do this. So it must be me not measuring up in some way. So some things that we can think on again are what this looks like. We have a trigger, we have this life experience happen, and then we have the emotional processing, and then the physical reactions happening to that processing, and then all of those cascading together and creating a core belief that we operate within. And so, what can we do to weed out? What are some beliefs that we might want to weed out? So I want us to think about this example, and actually this is where our journal comes in handy, where you can think on for just a couple of seconds, maybe 10 seconds or so. I want us all to just take a moment and write down a belief that we feel like, okay, it would serve me better if I could weed this one out. Maybe it's not this one. Maybe you have bullet points and you know, all right, these ones would be really great to release. So we're just going to take 10 seconds here and actually write down what we can do to help weed out. Okay, the power of a pause. Man, I I prepared this, but I hadn't even paused to think about it, and now I have one, and I'm glad that we can all work on something here. So with that belief, we're going to go through a few different processes, and we're going to first find out about the tools that we have in our at our fingertips. Okay, so essential oils and emotions, again, they have chemical reactions together. And the oils in particular, they can have an, a direct response on our emotions. We're going to actually go into that here. So when we use something like an essential oil, this helps our biochemistry to feel more anchored, because as opposed to it feeling just more frenzied and sporadic, it has an immediate effect. The reason for this is that when we inhale an oil, we are able to go straight to the brain. It goes not just to the brain as a whole, but the limbic system. It's called the amygdala. It's the specific gland that holds our memories as well as it's in control of our emotions. So for us, we have younger kids, and so we tend to see temper tantrums can arise out of nowhere sometimes. And therefore, what we're seeing is the amygdala has become very reactive. And so what we tend to do is we pull out two oils and we let them choose, okay, which one do you want, this one or that one? And one, that's helping them to cognitively get back into gear. And then two, it's helping their brain to automatically begin to calm down. And they can feel like they're walking into a forest while they're breathing something like balance that has a bunch of trees, or getting this refreshing whiff of a citrus oil. So it helps us to anchor. There's actually, so since we've been doing a lot with citrus, there's one of the essential oils, it's called bergamot. And what that does is it's when we inhale and have that aroma go straight through the olfactory system to the amygdala, it triggers a cascade effect within the brain where it starts to produce more serotonin and dopamine immediately. So, this is just some of the biochemical ways that our bodies can be benefited from using the oils. It's also helping our cellular function. Again, remember how we were talking about earlier? Let's see here with the cells, and how it can go straight into that cell and help affect the behavior of the cell. So, or I'm sorry, that was how emotions can affect us. The oils are doing the same thing and helping our cells to function optimally again. Another part here is that not only is it helping the cell, but it's also detoxing. We just last month went over how oils can be able to help with cholesterol and cardiovascular help. And if that's something you want to know, it's on the Simple Healers website on the continuing education videos. But the emotional detox is phenomenal as well, where we still are anchored, but we're also able to release some of those neuropeptides that are not serving that cell. So, what is an essential oil? What does it look like? So, here, this is a peppermint leaf, and these are the peppermint oil saccules. And that is just all throughout the leaf. And what it does is for the body, or for the plant, it's helping to nourish it and repair it, defend it from any other types of invaders, and therefore it will do the same thing for us as we use oils. So here, we'll be actually using our orange in just a second, but one thing to know is that not all oils are the same. So the type of grade and chemistry and potency are all affected by if there are synthetics present, and the purity of the oils. So this graph here shows you that the majority of oils on the market are completely synthetic. So this would be like our perfumes, or yeah, mostly on the perfume form, or like even the fragrances in like our Lysol spray. That has a lot of different additives and synthetics that might just smell kind of nice, but they can give us headaches. Uh, they can have some other negative side effects on our bodies. There are also food grade types of oils, and that would be things like peppermint and chewing gum. Those are better, but they're still, they just give you the flavor, but can still have a lot of the additives present. Then there are things like at Whole Foods where they're tested, but I should say they're considered therapeutic, but they are untested. For the most part, essential oil regulations are not there in terms of having a standard to meet. And therefore, the quality is very much compromised. And therefore, we can't even expect to have health benefits, at least not consistently. So, we want to make sure that we're getting the purest available and that they are tested so that we can know they're going to be therapeutically supporting us. So that's the certified pure tested grade. I know our oil, like if we're getting it from our orange, it's not one that is necessarily free from pesticides and all of that, but it's at least going to give us that aroma. So we're going to be using that here in actually in a couple more minutes. Sorry, I jumped ahead there. Okay, So, using essential oils for emotional wellness, we're going to go over 3 different ways to be able to use oils. They are dynamic, and that means that they can be able to support us again, emotionally and physically, and through those 3 ways. So, the first way is aromatically. We just talked about all the health benefits and how it goes straight to the brain and the limbic system through the aroma alone. Then topically, if we put the oil on our body, like on the back of our neck or on our forehead or on the bottom of our feet, that can really help that brain, our actual mind. Whereas if we want to put it over our heart, because again, we're trying to support those 3 brains, that can be able to support more of that intuition present there. And then if we have any digestive things going on, then just rolling it right on the stomach or on the bottom of the feet. Peppermint is great in this situation. That could be a good option to release some of that tension that could be held. So last one here, the 3 ways, so aromatic, topical, and internal. That internal way, we can't use internally most oils on the market. The only ones that we can are if they are that certified pure therapeutic grade. So if you do, then you can be able to take your lime, for example, and you can drop it in your water and you can be drinking it, and it can help on that detoxifying side that we were talking about for our emotions. So I wanted to go ahead and show this to you guys, and you can take a snapshot of this, and I can zoom in if you need. It might get a little fuzzy, but I can at least try. Okay, so this is a really great resource that we have loved for ourselves and our patients over the years. What it does is it helps us to know if we have certain types of emotions that we're dealing with, which category we might be able to, of oils, we might be able to utilize to help ourselves be more grounded. Or vice versa, if we're like, I only have a minty oil on hand or just a citrus oil on hand, then what can it help me with? So, this here, for example, the citrus one can help with emotions of discouraged, gloomy, or distressed. So, more on the disheartened side, right? Whereas the herbs and the grasses, this is more of our anger realm where it can help us feel more like, oh, okay, I can kind of process and let that go a little bit more. Whereas the trees, that helps us to feel really rooted and to be able to move into and through any sadness. And so these different oils around the wheel are blends that have, for example, Peace has some florals and some mint present. Motivate has some mint and citrus. Forgive has some herbs and grasses and trees all present. So that way, we have found that having something like this on hand helps us to have some sort of tools when we're going through all of life's ups and downs. So again, yep, you can take that picture there. And now we're going to go into, so we remembered what we had written down on what we wanted to weed out. Now, what do I want to plant? So we want to be able to move into that original one and then be able to nourish and replenish in ways that we can blossom in new ways, new beliefs. So again, we want to do things physically and emotionally. We're going to start with physically first, and then we're going to finally get to use that orange and be able to move into the emotions of it. So physically, we need to be able to care for our bodies, again, mind, body, and cells, I will say. So having some sort of omega is especially helpful for the brain. The E omega in particular we love because it has the wild orange with it, but that will really help the brain to be able to function better as well as the heart. The VMG, that is vitamins, minerals, and greens. That's helping every cell, all the different cells of the body, but especially more the gut because it has some probiotics present and digestive enzymes. So all of those together are helping to increase energy and decrease pain. When we deal with dysregulation, we're dealing with a lot of inflammation. and having things to help reduce our inflammation is very important to be able to root and rise. So the last one here, especially again to focus on the gut, is having a good probiotic that not only is giving you the good bacteria, but killing the bad bacteria. We've really appreciated this one because it has prebiotic, probiotic, postbiotic, and bacteriophages. Those bacteriophages are the ones that kill all the bad bacteria like E. coli, Candida, all the things that we don't want that in there. So those are a few core basics that we want to have for us physically to be able to be more resilient emotionally. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and go into what's called the essential emotions. And we're going to do a little walkthrough. And you can kind of place um, your emotion that you had written down or your belief that you had written down into the demo, if you so choose, or just kind of experience the demo, and you'll see how it can be a resource there. So what essential emotions does is it's helping us to be able to tap into what that emotion might be. And if we can't figure it out, it helps us to have more clarity and then move into it and through it. That is something that I appreciate a lot because oftentimes I hear patients, they're like, I just want to get out of this feeling. I don't want to feel this any longer. And I'm like, okay, we can't just shake it off. We actually have to move into it, hold it, nurture it. And then just like with a little child who's crying, the only way they're going to calm down is once they've felt, they've been held. So same thing for us. Okay, so if we are trying to figure out what our emotion is that we want to be able to work through, or our stressor, we have three different ways of figuring it out. If you already know it, great. But if you're like, okay, I'm not really sure, you can be able to use the oils to help you glean more understanding on what that emotion might be, or recognize where is it showing up in your body. It doesn't have to be in those three brains. It could be in the shoulders, it could be the feet or the back or respiratory. It could be in different areas. And within the essential emotions, here, I'll show you, guide, it has different emotions for the different areas of the body. So it will have things for example, like the heart, and for the brain. So here it's got the body guide. If it's forehead, it could be things like indecisive or pessimistic, for example. So we're going to go forward with this example of what we have here. All right, so the belief was not good enough, right? And this, I'm sure we've all had some sort of interaction with in our lives. So we're going to have that as our emotion that we're going to focus in on. So in the book, it didn't have not good enough as like a full description. It had hopeless. It led us to the word hopeless. And these are the different oils that it suggests. So as we figure out our identified emotion, we can choose 1 to 2 oils listed. So here it says, okay, we have a variety, and cheer and motivate, which came from that whole wheel that we were just looking at. And so I thought, let's go ahead and go through those as our example. Okay, so we're going to read through our oil description. We're not going to actually sit here and read through all of it, but you can take a snapshot and then be able to see, okay, which one would better resonate for me in my life situation, these as possibilities. And then you would write down which ones would really make a difference. So, for example, cheer is a blend formulated to lift the spirits of those in need, particularly beneficial for individuals who feel heavy-hearted or weighed down by many life challenges that have been thrown their way. It helps restore hope when endurance has been stretched to its limits, offering moments of reprieve and a glimmer of light. Again, this one, they both have a lot of the citrus present. So compared to motivate. So motivate here, it encourages individuals to process feelings of gloom, weariness, or hopelessness rather than succumb to despair. Instead of being paralyzed by these emotions, it reassures them to have the inner courage to face each new day, nurturing a resilient spirit and reminding them to believe in themselves and their ability to overcome. So what you would do in this as an example is you would be writing down, okay, which of the different phrases would really resonates with what you might be going through. Again, because this is an example that isn't necessarily your own, this is more of just a demo from this feeling of not good enough. So from there, okay, we return to that emotion, and in the Essential Emotions book and app, which I'll show you guys at the very end, you can be able to find on the App Store, you'll find these different little questions that have, okay, how can you move into it a little bit more deeply? Again, that's what we want to do in order to release. So questions could be, and you'll write down again, which questions resonate most. Okay, why do I feel hopeless? Are there circumstances that are preventing me from believing in a better future? What will it take for me to believe in my dreams again? If there's one or all of those, these would be things to kind of journal through and understand, all right, how can I make sense of this hopelessness and why it's showing up for me? Again, we want our feelings to feel felt. We're actually giving ourselves permission to feel what we feel. So from there, it's time to begin the release. Okay, orange. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to just kind of peel a piece. If you don't have an essential oil, Joel's got his oil. So you're going to just kind of fold that little piece of that orange, and you'll start to see some of the oil popping up. And then just take a whiff.
Or if you have your essential oil, you can just
Yeah.
use that.
Yep. And you want to take 3 cleansing breaths. So really inhaling that. I'm gonna do my oil because it's not as much with the peel. And the purpose of these 3 cleansing breaths is because we want it to really get to the amygdala and not just, I took a little sniff and that smelled nice, but it didn't do anything for me. If we can actually allow our brain to access those chemicals, then we can start to have a neurochemical chain reaction and change begin. So we'll be continuing to use our oil or peel along the way as we're doing a declaration and visualization. Okay, now that we've moved into that emotion of hopelessness, now we're going to have a declaration. So this one is nice and short, but if it was a longer one, you can summarize it or really personalize it. And then the idea is to keep on declaring it until you begin to actually feel a shift. So this one here, it says, I now embrace hope for my future and open up to infinite possibilities. So you might say that once and be like, okay, I'm open to that. But if you don't start to really feel like, okay, this is actually something I believe, or start to feel that shift, it's like, okay, I now embrace hope for my future and open up to infinite possibilities. I now embrace hope. So it's just kind of repeating and being able to have that shift of change in that thought process. So because we're anchoring chemically and in our thoughts to have a new belief, to weed out that old one and implant a new one. Okay. And finally, we're going to have a visualization, because when we can visualize, it really brings those words into a more emotional reality that we can start feeling like we're moving into this more. So with the visualization, this one's a longer one for the hopeless. We would again personalize it, and we would write it down in our journal and close our eyes and envision it while we're inhaling the aroma. So I'm just going to read a couple phrases here, and then we're going to breathe in after. So imagine standing on a quiet beach at dawn and hearing the gentle waves brushing against the shore. As the sunrise fully begins over the horizon, its warmth embraces you, filling you with a sense of renewal and strength. You breathe deeply, taking in this moment of calm and clarity. And with each breath, you feel more hopeful and connected to all the beauty surrounding you. So, and then from there, we would breathe in and help again anchor ourselves in that as a reality. So let's go ahead. We're going to do another inhalation. Again, if it's an orange or an oil. So 3 breaths. Okay. So from here, we want to again have that physical and emotional shift happen together. So we want to do a couple things to help nourish ourselves. These are a few ideas. So things like increasing our water intake or our exercise and movement so we can actually feel stronger. Resting. Sometimes we're going and going and we're not able to really just pause and hear and have clarity. Improving our diet, that might help with the inflammation that we're dealing with. So you choose just one. You don't need to do all of them. One is enough to start with. And then doing the essential emotions breakthrough daily to help change in the neurochemistry and belief. So this breakthrough, there's a worksheet that goes with it. I'll make sure that you guys can have access to that. Um, if you send me like in the chat, just let me know that if you do want that, I'm happy to send that on over to you. And it just helps break down those steps one by one again. But again, each of those steps, first, just knowing, okay, what are you dealing with? And then finding your emotion and then using what oils you have on hand. You can just smell and see which ones work best for you. And unless you have a bunch of them, then having the actual book or app would probably be helpful. And then from there, being able to have a resource that gives you a little bit more information about the oils. And again, that's especially Essential Motions has that, but then having some time to look deeper. You can just ask yourself, why? Why am I feeling what I'm feeling? Are there circumstances preventing me from believing in a better future? That can apply to anything, like if it's anger or grief. And then what will it take for me to believe in my dreams again? And then we're going to have that visualization and declaration. So, again, if you don't have the Essential Emotions book, that's okay. You can come up with your own declaration and visualization and have your oil to anchor with those with. So, okay, here. So, just some moment by moment support as we have stressors come up throughout our lives. I really recommend having a few different oils. It's called the Emotional Aromatherapy set or kit. And that set, I feel like, has just helped us tremendously over the years with the different emotions that arise and our patients as well. But even just the single oils alone are great. So, and then you have the wheel just to be able to refer back to, even if you don't have that Essential Emotions app, that's totally fine. You have the wheel to be able to see, okay, if I have a citrus, literally, and I don't even have a citrus oil, I can be able to use something, but the oil again is going to be even stronger. Or spice, herbs, and grasses, trees, floral, mint. If you have any of those on hand, you already have tools. So this app you can just find it on the App Store. It's called Essential Emotions, and it has, again, the emotions you can be able to read through and better identify what you might be going through, learning more about the oils and how they can help a little bit more specifically. And then being able to know, okay, if I don't even know what I'm feeling, what's my body telling me? Shoulders, that tends to be more my area. Tense, all right, I need to go ahead and look at what that's related to. And then we can have more clarity. So that's everything that I have for tonight. We can go ahead and stop the recording and then open it up for any questions that you guys might have. Also, one thing that I did also want to make note of is that for all of you who are on tonight, I'm offering, because I'm going through the Essential Emotions coaching training, each of you can have a free session of being able to do the Essential Emotions breakthrough. So again, you can feel free to reach out either in the chat or let us know personally, and we'll schedule a day and time that works well.
And
So,
I just want to add a cool thing is like we don't benefit at
no,
all from it.
no.
We didn't develop this. This is something that someone else developed. But the cool thing is she can walk you through it, and then once you do it, and if you have like a resource like this book or the app, then you can do it yourself, which is
Yes.
really cool. So you can say, what emotions am I feeling? And I can walk through this process myself. So
I've
it's
loved
really cool.
that because I also do what's called the neuroemotional technique, and that's very much like a practitioner needs to be facilitating. And I've loved this tool because it's something where every person can be able to take care of it and do the process on their own. So, any questions that you guys have?